Hello and welcome to Granada Reports, live with the latest across the northwest.
Hello, here's what's coming up tonight.
You expect your parents to go on holiday and come home. You don't expect them to go away and never see them again.
The horror of the Summerland fire 50 years on. Will the bereaved families still looking for answers ever get justice?
A 15-year-old stabbed to death near a busy dual carriageway. We're live from the scene.
How high-tech headsets could help our children avoid the dangers of railway lines.
The stage is set. We meet the three showbiz stars aiming to prove variety isn't dead yet.
And in the weather, we're all eager to know what it's going to do for the weekend. Here's a clue. I think they should be lying down. All the details coming up.
We start tonight by continuing our special coverage of the Summerland disaster. August the 2nd will mark 50 years since 50 people died in a fire inside the leisure complex on the Isle of Man.
A year after the tragedy, a public inquiry found a number of errors that led to the fire, including the lack of attention to fire safety and the building materials that were used.
To explain more, here's our Isle of Man reporter, Joshua Stokes.
The heat is starting to build up now.
50 dead, 11 were children.
It was just raining fire.
An absolute horror movie.
And nobody knows about it. It's been forgotten. It's the forgotten disaster.
There's absolute pandemonium here. The Summerland is ablaze and blazing down. It looks as if there's no hope for Summerland, without a shadow of a doubt.
This one is of my mum and June, actually in the Isle of Man, the Summerland complex.
This is all Heather has to remember her family. She lost both her parents and her sister in the fire, and it wasn't until she saw a news flash on TV when she realised what had happened.
At that point, I knew they weren't coming home, and it was just dreadful. Just, you expect your parents to go on holiday and come home. You don't expect them to go away and never see them again.
It was a night from hell, to be honest with you, for both of us. We just sat up all night.
But because it was on the Isle of Man, all the details, the inquiry and everything else were pushed under the carpet. And that makes me angry.
Nobody's blamed. Now we have corporate manslaughter. They didn't have that law then. If they did, it might have been a different story. But somebody was to blame. They knew it could happen, and it did. And they got away with it.
In the weeks that followed the fire, there was one defining question left unanswered. How? How could a multi-million-pound leisure complex, billed as the biggest and best in holiday entertainment, end in such utter devastation? And that was the question the inquiry hoped to answer. A year after the disaster, the full investigation was published. The report detailed a number of errors that led to the tragedy. These included the lack of consideration around fire escapes, the decision to cover the building in a highly flammable material called Oroglass, and the use of softwood instead of concrete.
The Summerland Fire Commission did not allocate blame in a percentage-wise manner, but I would allocate the most blame to the architects.
Dr. Ian Phillips has been studying Summerland for over 30 years. He's been examining evidence from the inquiry, including a letter which he believes may have been overlooked.
The insurance company Commercial Union said that Summerland is a most unattractive risk. In other words, Commercial Union were reluctant to insure the building. And what is so important about the letter? The Summerland Fire Commission report states 6 factors that the architects should have reconsidered. And 3 of those factors are in that Commercial Union letter. So Commercial Union showed considerable hindsight and accuracy about the limitations of Summerland.
The inquiry found evidence upon evidence of negligence. like here where it lists quotes from letters sent between the architects. Quotes include, "I do not think we need worry unduly on this business of fire resistance," and "we might get away with it." And yet skip to the final paragraph and it says, "It seems to the Commission that there were no villains."
I was particularly surprised because no villains means that this could not have been foreseen. But Summerland was deadly because it was poor building design and poor building management. In my opinion, it could have been foreseen.
But none of the architects nor the operators were ever held to account. No accountability, no explanation, and for the victims, no justice.
There's families still there today, after the loved ones have gone, who still live with what's happened, and it shouldn't be forgotten.
And that's the reality after 50 years of silence, still struggling even now to come to terms with what happened.
When we went to the Isle of Man for the 40th anniversary, I went to near the site on the beach and picked up 3 stones which represent my dad, my mum and my little sister, sorry. And that's all I have to remember, that they were there.
The injustice felt by those who lost loved ones remains just as strong today as it was 50 years ago. While the inquiry may have offered answers as to why the fire spread so quickly, the questions around accountability linger on.
Joshua Stokes reporting from the Isle of Man there. And we've made efforts to contact the remaining Summerland architects for comment, but so far have been unable to do so.
Next tonight, detectives in Lancashire have begun a murder inquiry after the stabbing of a 15-year-old boy. It happened close to a busy dual carriageway in Skelmersdale.
Andrew Fletcher is there for us tonight. What more do we know, Andrew?
Well, Anne, in the past hour, police have named the young victim of this knife attack. He was Dylan Bragger, 15 years old, from Skelmersdale. His family say he was working towards being a car mechanic, a young man with his whole life ahead of him. And they've issued a tribute to him through the police. They say our boy had a heart of gold. He was a gentle giant and was loved by so many. Dylan had such an infectious smile that would light up any room, and he could cheer up anyone with one of his big bear hugs. They say we've got a hole in our hearts that will never heal, and no amount of words will ever take our pain away. Well, Dylan was stabbed by the side of this dual carriageway at about 9 o'clock last night. Despite the efforts of emergency services, they were unable to save him, and he was pronounced dead at the scene. And throughout the afternoon, friends, people who knew him, people who wanted to pay tribute to him, have been laying flowers, you can see behind me, and cards with messages such as "God took you too soon" and "Everyone will miss you." Clearly everybody here really shocked by what's happened.
People were screaming and shouting. His dad ended up running over with his friend, but the police wouldn't let him down, to his son. It was just like, it was horrific. It was horrific. It's bad enough to see anything like that anyway, but when it's somebody who you know, I've known the family since his dad was young, nice lad, happy-go-lucky, do you know what I mean? It's just devastating.
Well, forensic teams have been working all day. They're still on the site, searching along the grass verge that you can see behind me. And on the other side of the road, they've just sealed off another area, searching for clues as to what could have happened. Police have arrested a 28-year-old man, and he's being questioned. But they say they still want anyone who might have information to come forward. This would have been a busy dual carriageway at 9 o'clock last night. So they're asking any drivers who may have been passing by, did they see anything unusual? Might they have any dash cam footage that can help detectives establish how this young man lost his life?
Andrew Fletcher in Skelmersdale, thank you.
More of the day's news now, and the barrister for Lucy Letby, who's accused of the murder of babies at the Countess of Chester Hospital, has said the right verdicts to return against her were not guilty. The 33-year-old nurse denies all the charges in her trial at Manchester Crown Court. The defence closing speech has been taking place this week. The case was adjourned until Monday, when the judge is expected to begin his summing up.
A teenager who killed a 63-year-old pedestrian when the stolen car he was driving crashed has been jailed for 4 years. David Francis from Litherland died at the scene in Netherton after being struck by the Audi S8, being driven by 17-year-old Lewis Wright. The court decided that Wright could be named despite his age. At an earlier hearing, he pleaded guilty to causing death by dangerous driving.
The final performance has taken place at Liverpool's Epstein Theatre. The historic venue is closing after the City Council said it could no longer continue to support it financially. The team behind the theatre has launched a petition to get the closure reversed.
I think nationwide it's a loss to artists who want to perform in any form of production. We're all losing this incredible space where lots of people, and it's not just about the people of Liverpool, although it massively is, it's actually about everybody.
Now, new technology is being used here in the Northwest to warn young people of the dangers around railway lines.
Yes, last year 471 children were found trespassing on the tracks, and Network Rail is starting a new campaign to reduce that number.
As part of that, they're taking virtual reality headsets into classrooms to help explain the risks of getting too near to the tracks, as James Webster has been finding out.
The normal thing that people think of straight away is trains, which are quite dangerous. They're massive, they're very fast, they take a long time to stop.
Today's lesson is one which could save the life of someone in this classroom.
But you can have things like buried cables.
These 10 and 11-year-olds at Dial Park Primary in Stockport are using virtual reality headsets to see how dangerous the railway can be.
I think a lot of them know that trains are dangerous and you can get hit by a train, but maybe not so many of them know about the dangers of electricity on the railway.
You brought your controller to play tonight, yeah?
In one video, someone's distracted by their phone and steps on a live rail, like the ones found on Merseyside, carrying high-voltage electricity.
These two people walking, and then they decided to go on these train tracks, and then they stepped on the third rail, I'm pretty sure, and they got electrocuted.
I wouldn't go on a train track, to be honest, because it's really dangerous and there's lots of electricity around you and could get zapped at any time.
Did having the headset make it easier to understand how dangerous it is?
Yeah, because it's more 3D, so you can like tell the surroundings and stuff like that, so it's a lot more easier.
My name is Harrison Valentine and I did not expect to die today.
As part of this new campaign in schools, this powerful video played by young actors is being used.
Didn't expect today would be my last day at school.
It tells the story of Harrison Ballantyne, who died while trying to get his football back from near a train track, a story his mother is determined to share.
I didn't even notice the power lines. I didn't touch them. I didn't expect electricity to just jump at me through the air.
They told me that I couldn't identify him, but it never actually sunk in. I couldn't identify him because he was unidentifiable. So that's, you know, the reality of that. My brain only realised that quite a while afterwards. And his friends had seen him, and they have to live with that for the rest of their lives.
Last year here in the Northwest, there were 471 cases of children found trespassing on railway tracks. Across the country, more than 3,500 cases were reported, and although down on the previous year, it is a number that remains higher than it was before the pandemic.
Harrison Ballantyne was just an 11-year-old boy, didn't understand the danger surrounding him when he crossed the boundary onto the railway, and he was just going to collect his ball. So once you walk onto the rail infrastructure, you are surrounded by a dangerous environment. Anybody could walk onto the rail infrastructure, and it's really important that they understand the danger that they're putting themselves in when they do that.
Stockport County Football Club has teamed up with Network Rail here in the Northwest to get the message into more schools.
We've worked in 8 primary schools across Stockport. It's so hard hitting, and the VR headsets I think are a game changer.
The timing of this lesson is deliberate, coming ahead of the summer holidays, when children will spend more time outdoors.
It's very immersive, so you feel like they're actually there experiencing what could end something really badly, so that they can prevent that in the future for them. So the fact they've got the VR headsets, they know that those dangers that could occur so that they can avoid them in the future.
This is one of the first schools to use the videos on these new headsets. Network Rail hopes it will be the first of many and will help prevent children ending up in danger on the railways. James Webster, ITV News, Stockport.
Let's hope so, because we both know, don't we, that parents telling them not to do something sometimes doesn't work.
Exactly. A really powerful ad campaign as well, so let's hope that works as well. Anyway, still to come tonight.
We are the legends of variety.
Yes, we'll be chatting about our brand new show
at the end of the programme, Granada Report.
And in the forecast, I think Grace thinks she's an otter. Well, we certainly had the weather for it today, and it was rather wet for walkies, but how long will it continue? All the details for the weekend, the full forecast coming up shortly.
And before all that, we're going over to Lucrezia with details of the ITV News in about 15 minutes.
The Prime Minister's plan to fix the NHS. Rishi Sunak says he'll double medical school places and expand training to stem the staff shortage crisis, but critics say it won't be a quick fix. Also, France on fire. Hundreds arrested after a third night of violence, while the president's criticised for going to an Elton John gig. Kevin Spacey up in court as he faces sexual assault charges. And the final test for the Lionesses ahead of the Women's World Cup. Join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
OK, time for sport now, and the North West unites for a big weekend of boxing, David.
Yeah, absolutely. Manchester is hosting for what could be a memorable night for Liverpool. The city's most successful boxer, Natasha Jonas, has won 2 of her 3 world titles in Manchester. Now she's hoping to add another to her collection tomorrow night when she tries to become a world champion at 2 different weight divisions.
My career, I haven't set out to, create history. I've just been trying to win. Along the way, I've been the first woman to box for GB, the first woman to qualify for an Olympics, the first woman to box and win in an Olympics, first woman to win a British Boxing Border Control Fighter of the Year. So all these things I've won along the way, but it was just making them small steps first and just winning.
Natasha Jonas.
Well, Natasha faces Canadian Candy Wyatt for the vacant IBF welterweight title at Manchester's AO Arena tomorrow night. And once again, her band of Scouse supporters will make the journey down the M62 to cheer on the champ.
Yeah, it is only a 40-minute commute, so we get a lot of Scousers here. I'm sure Manchester's not happy about that. I'm conflicted myself because I think I'm an honorary monk now. I've been training here for so long. It's a great arena. The crowd always get behind us. It's a great atmosphere. And I've had a lot of success here. 2 out of my 3 titles was won in Manchester last year, so I'm hoping long may that continue.
Let's meet the fighters.
It's been a frustrating year so far for Natasha, who's had to bide her time to return to the ring. It's 8 months since she last fought. While she's not the headlining act, she is determined to once again put on a show.
It's been a long, frustrating year so far after the joys and successes of last year, so I'm just ready to hit the ground running and do this, get as many fights in 2023 as I can.
Now in cycling, after 2 decades racing the Tour de France, Mark Cavendish will begin his final one tomorrow. The Isle of Man cyclist admits it'll be an emotional farewell as he starts his long goodbye to the Tour. He's currently the joint record holder for most stage wins with 34. Well, the Manx Missile isn't our only representative in this year's race. Berry brothers Adam and Simon Yates are also taking part, and it's Simon's first ride since April due to injury and illness.
The best preparation, I believe, is the one I've taken. We'll find out over the next 3 weeks if that was true or not, but I'm happy with where I'm at.
Not sounding too confident, but quietly confident.
I just don't want to overhype anything like I have maybe in the past, or
I do want to say,
and then get criticised for speaking on mine. So, no, I'm excited to get stuck in a race. So we'll see what happens.
Loving those hats. I hope he wears a helmet, though, for the racing. And you can watch the first stage live on ITV4 tomorrow morning. Coverage starts at 11 o'clock. Highlights are also at 7 o'clock tomorrow evening. But that's all your sport for tonight.
David, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, David. Now, Often people say that variety shows died when television was introduced in the 50s. Many said, why go to a theatre when you can watch a show on TV? But our next act aims to prove those people wrong.
Yes, with over 200 years of showbiz experience. I remember them when I was little, and that was years ago. Our entertainment correspondent, Caroline Whitmore, caught up with three very special legends of variety who are bringing their variety show to Stockport and Blackpool.
I'm Bernie Clifton, and I can't wait to come back to Blackpool with an elderly, slow-moving ostrich.
I'm Anita Harris. I have been singing since I was 3 years old. Last year, I realised that it was 60 years of show business.
I'm Freddie Davis, commonly known as Samuel Tweet, or Freddie Parrotface Davis. I've been telling jokes, you wouldn't believe it, for 75 years.
We are the legends of variety.
Well, here we are at the Stockport Plaza in rehearsals for your Legends of Variety show. Freddie, how excited are you all to get together for this show?
It's absolutely wonderful. I'm so excited that I got up this morning. We're doing this nationwide tour, and we're coming here to the Stockport Plaza on the 7th of September. It's a bit of a nostalgia trip. We've got Tommy Cannon and the Grumblewigs. We're all here at the Stockport Plaza. But before that, we're at the Opera House, Blackpool, Sunday the 9th of July. Why was the budgie kicked out of the bar? Because he was tweeting at all the chicks.
It's a wonderful idea to get us all together. We grew up together, didn't we, darlings?
Yeah, well, they said if you meet Anita Harris, whatever you do, don't blow in her ear. And as a St Helens lad, I'm thrilled to be coming back to Lancashire because being born and growing up at 59 Charles Street in St Helens, just up the street from the Theatre Royal, which is where I made my very, very first appearance. I said to my good lady, can you ever have imagined in your wildest dreams, after 70 years in the business, I'm coming back to Blackpool? And she said, I don't know how to tell you this, Bernard, but you're never in my wildest dreams.
Have you worked it out yet?
We were calculating before, and I don't think you mind me saying, there's over 200 years of showbiz experience.
Well,
just with the three of you.
On his own.
I've come for a very special reason today.
As soon as television came in the 50s, it started to change. That's where variety went, really.
How much it hurts just loving you.
You sound amazing. That was the 60s, wasn't it? It was out.
1967. And it's thanks to Dusty Springfield, because we were on a show together, Top of the Pops. She was singing, You Don't Have to Say You Love Me. And I was singing Trains and Boats and Planes. And she said, Anita, you and your Mike have to meet my brother Tom. I think he's got a song for you. And every time I sing it, I think of her.
What do you each get in the streets?
Are you still alive? One of those.
Lovely to see you all.
And you, darling. God bless.
This won't clash with Crime Watch, because I'm on it next week.
And we're gonna finish on top. Yes!
You gotta love a bit of Bernie Clifton, haven't you?
Proper old school, but without the emu as well.
The ostrich.
Ostrich.
The ostrich. That's Oswald the ostrich. Will be very upset that we.
I think we ought to move on to the weekend weather, don't you? Here's Emma.
Have you burnt tea again?
I'm scraping the cooled oil into the bin, not the sink.
Can we eat outside? It's nice.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Hello there. A bit of a disappointing day today for the last day of June. It turns out that it has been the hottest June on record, especially warm, particularly in the west, with more sunshine than average and less rainfall than we normally expect for the time of year. But not today. Here's Mr. McGruff taking shelter there from the rain. It was a bit of a wet one at times, 10 to 20 millimetres of rainfall in some of the heavier downpours. They're trudging eastwards all the while, but a bit of wet evening this evening. However, all those showers have brought out my ornamental sunflower. so winning already. This one seemed appropriate, therefore, to show. And as we head forward, there are a few more showers in the forecast over the weekend. But the main feature is it's going to be rather breezy, certainly windier than it has been of late, especially at west-facing coast. So not fantastic for Lytham Festival. Rather wet tonight for Sting and Blondie, but a little bit better for Lionel Richie and Motley Crue over the weekend. But still, as I say, quite windy there, quite lively. Low pressure always close by over the next couple of days, but you can see those isobars are squeezed tight, and that's what I mean by those lively winds. And things remain mobile into the start of next week as well. But returning to the next few hours, the rain just keeps coming, so rather a soggy evening, rather breezy as well at these west-facing coasts there. The bulk of the rain clears to showers through the early hours of the morning, with clearer spells in between, but those winds keep up. It is going to be a mild night though overnight. So into tomorrow. Here are your sunrise and sunset times for Saturday. Sun's up at 4:44, sets at 9:45. First thing, there'll be quite a lot of cloud around, but that'll break a bit more readily than today. So more sunny spells or bright spells really compared to today. Still a few showers that keep coming and still quite breezy as well. Similar sort of theme for Sunday with more uncertainty for Monday and Tuesday. That's your weather. Here's your pollen.
It's a little bit burnt.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Hello, summer. Piri sponsors ITV Pollen Count.
On then to the pollen report now, and even though grass pollen counts were low today, they start to creep up over the weekend. Even though the weather's changeable, there are one or two brighter spells popping up here and there. That's it. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Emma. We're back after news at 10, and you can keep up to date going on the website itv.com/Granada. We'll leave you with some amazing pictures from Blackpool Zoo.
Keepers there are celebrating a rather cute arrival, a baby orangutan. It's the first such birth at the zoo in more than 20 years, and there are hopes it'll help towards safeguarding the rare Bornean species for future generations.
So cute.
Very.
Brilliant. Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.